Okay, well, welcome all of you. Ma'am is here, and let's start the session. Okay, over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, so good evening, good afternoon, all. Today we'll be continuing the session on UAV. So yesterday we have seen some introduction on UAV. What are the types? Such things were discussed. So today we will discuss airborne network environment, then the protocol in this network. Its types, so that we will see packet structure, we will see then other two topics are the security aspects and the research challenges in UAV networks. Okay, so these are the topics that we will be discussing today. So coming to first topic, airborne network environment. So we have seen the things related to UAV networks. Such things all we discussed majority of this concept yesterday. So today we will be putting some add-ons to that. Okay. So these airborne networks are a class of mobile networks, as we discussed yesterday. So we told like it can be wireless. It can be attached for the wired infrastructure also. It will act as an access point for those devices. So many things we discussed yesterday. So here come the wireless due to the untethered communication link between the aircraft and mobile due to the movement of the aircraft. Okay, so that way we are saying it as a mobile wireless network. So depending on the communication paradigm, they may or may not need to be ad hoc networks. Which requires self-organization. See, some cases this number of UAVs attached to the base station. So such things will be already decided, and it will be moving in and around. But for some dynamic situations, we can this each of the UAV has to self-organize its routing path, and it has to send or deliver the packet. So that things we will come in detail in the coming slides. Okay, so you can see a table in the slide, so which discusses the various scenario, velocity, mobility, link, net type. So some one table is given. So here you can see the scenario, which means for what purpose we are going to use the UAV networks, whether it is for commercial application, whether it is for civilian, whether it is a drone, tactical, military. So what is the scenario? So based on the scenario, the velocity of our UAV UE, it means UAE user equipment, it will vary. So if it is for a commercial application, the velocity will be moderate, whereas for tactical military operations, the velocity will be high. Now, if you discuss about the mobility, so for commercial, we know the mobility, which means commercial means you can think of the flights that we used to book, that you may take from airports and all. Okay, so that is the commercial UAV. So in that case, we know where that flight is, what is the source and what is the destination of each of the UAV is known to us. Okay, so that mobility path is known to the control center. Okay, so that is with commercial. And for civilian, it is predictable. I mean, civilian is a type of commercial UAV itself. So the commercial comes like the scheduled flights, whereas civilian are those flights which is kind of a chartered flights. So at last minute some flights will be scheduled and people will be going for that. So we can know the path only at the time when it is about to leave. So that is with civilian. But as we know the source and destination at the time of departure, we know we can see the mobility, means it is predictable which way it will be using. So such things are predictable for that, whereas in drones and tactical military operations it is unpredictable. Now coming to the links of communication, so for commercial it is the ground STA satellite through which the communications will be happening, whereas for civilian it is the ground station And for drones, it is variable based on the application of the drones. The link varies. Tactical military operations, it is multi-hop. So multi-hop and all we will discuss later. And next, and net type. So net type is point-to-point multi-hop DTN. DTN stands for the disruption tolerant network, or we can see the delay tolerant network. So we use DTN when the networks involved in communication are heterogeneous. For example, there may be some managed, there may be some traditional computer networks with Ethernet connectivity, and here you can see satellite, it has to communicate. So again, there is some change in the communication. So that's what DTN. It is delay tolerant network, or we can say disruption tolerant network. So when there is communication between the heterogeneous networks, the delay increases. So it has to handle such cases. If we go with the traditional method, then what happens is when there is a delay, usually we assume that the packet is lost and we will go for retransmission. So such things should not happen in here. Because a delay will be there for sure, so it has to be handled. So for such to handle such things, we have NASA has come up with technology DTN. Okay, for civilian, you can see it is point-to-point MANET, or we can say MANET DTN is used in drones and tactical military applications like that. Okay, so as we told, say commercial aviation, I told it is just a flight paths that we are using. So why, what is the use of the satellites and things is like, in flights you can see later they will announce like some people can make use of the internet access, but they will be providing just like 150 MB or 200 MB with some nominal charges, so that internet access is provided to the users. So in that case, that internet access is provided with the help of satellite communication. So since it is satellite communication, we don't have that much of bandwidth for the communication. So we have to restrict the users from streaming the video data and such things. If they are going for such kind of situation, the bandwidth requirement, data rate requirement increases. Okay, so that is the use of our satellites in. It is used for internet access and entertainment distribution. Now, but even if we provide this internet access, it can be provided with limited data rate only. Okay. Now coming to the second thing, like we discussed civilian aviation. So civilian aviation is also another, as I told, it is a part of our commercial UAVs. The only difference is that it will be non-scheduled compared to the commercial aviation. So paths are less predictable, even but at the time of departure, anyway, we can know based on where it is going. So you can have an idea on what path it may choose. Now, the drones and things we discussed already. So, another aspect which we have to discuss in this scenario is like, see, I told where here you can see in the slide point-to-point communication is a MANET I mentioned, then DTN, and I told there will be heterogeneous communication. Then we told satellite, this heterogeneous communication involving satellites and traditional computer networks means Ethernet type of thing. So everything involved. So if that is the case, then we cannot follow with our traditional TCP/IP model for communication. We should have some gateways in between this airborne airborne devices like UAVs and the other devices taking part in the communication. So some method should be there so that we can convert these data packets to the format which can be understood by the devices taking part in the communication. Okay, so that's why we will be discussing about the protocol architecture of protocols involved in the communication. Okay, so if you go with TCP/IP, we cannot just use it as such, because TCP/IP, it mostly talks about the connection establishment and things, whereas in here it may not be possible to go with a reliable connection all the time. Okay, so we have to go with some future methods for that. So, given these constraints and requirements of the aeronautical environment, the current internet protocols are not suitable in various aspects. So that's what we were discussing about: physical network characteristics, intermittent connectivity, mobility. All these things affects our things. So we will see some types. So first we can go through one example figure you can see in the slide. That is an airborne network environment shown to you. So it consists of three types of nodes. You can see some airborne nodes, AN. Then means all of these are airborne nodes, we will say. Then in the ground you can see some GS. These are the ground stations. So these are the ground stations. Then some RN is there. These are the relay nodes, which means which will send the packets of. They are just acting as some intermediate nodes, so that some packets can be sent and received between the source and the destination. Okay, so these are some of the things. And in the top you can see this one. This is a satellite, so which will do the satellite communication. Okay, so the airborne nodes span from variety of classes. So those classes we discussed in the previous slide. Then it can be of various types. So the types that we discussed yesterday. Now at the the satellite link, what is the use that we discussed. Then coming to the RN also I explained what it is. And you can see so many drones in there at some particular point. So these are the drones. Okay, so these are some set of drones. Whereas so those drones, we can form one manet. It's a cluster of UAV that we can see. Uh, they may be communicating with each other, whereas one drone is there which is separated from this. So if you want to make some communication between this particular ground station and this drone, then there is no direct link. It has to communicate. The data packets from this drone will be sent to this cluster of drones. From there, it will be transmitted to the ground station. Okay, so similarly, any communication from ground station will also go in this direction with the help of this nodes, this drones involved. Okay, so it is applicable for any UAVs. So if we discuss about this case, here also the same. So here you can see some fighter planes. Okay, so these if they and here one is also there. This is away from the satellite as, and it is also away from the ground station. So in this case also, if it wants to interact, it has to interact through the nearby UAVs. So you can see different types of UAVs in here. So these UAVs also, even though they are of different types, they may also interact with each other. And for ground station communication or satellite communication, it has to go through its neighboring UAVs. So for that communication, mainly relay nodes will help for such communications. But if there is absence of relay nodes, then we will go with the other UAVs which is available. So when a UAV send the packet, or when will it means when can a UAV act as a relay node, or when it cannot act as a relay node, all those things will be discussed in the slides. Okay, coming slides. So next we are going to discuss about the protocol architecture of our networks. So here, so this is the protocol architecture. You can see three types of protocol I mentioned here: Aero TP, Aero NP, and Aero RP. So Aero TP is a TCP friendly transfer protocol. Aero NP, it is a network protocol which is compatible with the IP, internet protocol. IP stands for internet protocol. And Aero RP, it is a routing protocol. Okay, so these are the three protocol that is available with us for airborne networks. Now one figure you can see in here. Okay, so here this is the internet. So this stands for our traditional TCP/IP model. We are having the transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and the physical layer. So these things are shown here. Now, if there is a communication from the internet to the airborne network, it has to finally reach to the peripheral devices, which is again another again a device which follows the traditional TCP/IP model. So you can see there is a gateway. So you can see that there is a gateway at the starting point. So this gateway has to convert this packet so that it can be understood by the airborne network. You can see the protocol stack in here, Aero TP. This is for the transport layer. So TCP should be compatible with the Aero TP. Now internet protocol, which means the networking protocol, it should be compatible with Aero NP. So actually we have to say the other way. See, internet, this is the first thing that came, TCP/IP model. Later on only airborne networks came. So when this has to this airborne network has to make use of the traditional internet, whatever protocols or whatever design concept that you are going to apply on the airborne network, it should be compatible with the traditional TCP/IP model. So Aero TP should be compatible with the TCP. Aero NP should be compatible with the networking protocol, which is internet protocol here. Then Aero MAC, it is a data link layer. Aero PHY, okay, physical layer. So this is the network stack. This is the protocol stack of our airborne network. Now you are having the relay node. So the job of the relay node is to just transmit the packets which is been received. Okay, so this has to send the packet. So here there is no transport. It is just it has to just transmit the packet based on whatever it is being received. It has to identify which direction it has to send. Okay, so that's why here it is mentioned as RP, Aero N/RP. RP stands for the routing protocol. It has to understand through which route it has to send the packets. Okay, now the packet has to reach some point. So here it is being reached at a airborne node. From there it has to reach the final place. So again one gateway is there which will do the reverse conversion, which means from Aero TP to TCP, Aero NP to IP, and Aero MAC to link or MAC of our internet protocol, then physical to physical. Okay, so this way this transmission has to take place, then only a communication can happen. Okay, so this case we are showing with our internet. See, in the case of manets again it will differ. Okay, so that's just only slight differences will be there based on what is the protocol that we are using in there. So we discussed IEEE 802.11 which can be used with manets. So there this stack based on the manet will be used. Okay, stack is still the same, but the protocols will be different. So we can see each of this. We will see each of these protocols in detail. So before that, you can see an airborne network protocol functional block diagram. So here you can see this is the Aero RP. Aero RP is a routing protocol. Aero TP for the TCP. Aero NP for the networking. Aero gateways. So GW stands for the gateway. So it has to do the address translation so that the data can be transmitted between the source and the destination, which means in IP packets, the source address will be 32 bits or it can be 128 bits based on which IP you are using, whether you are going for IP v4 or you are going for IP v6. Okay, so this will be the address formats of our traditional TCP/IP model, whereas in Aero TP we have seen the identification codes yesterday. So that will be the addresses. Okay, so some kind of translations has to take place. Now Aero RP, consists of the hello beacons. So hello beacons we discussed yesterday. Again, we will have a small discussion today. So based on the hello beacons, the this each node will keep some data like neighboring table. Okay, so this neighboring table will be updated whenever we get a hello beacon, which means when a new node comes to the area, it will advertise its presence. So based on the signal strength, the neighboring table of the current node will be updated. Each node will also get updates from the ground stations. So ground station will have the information like which all devices are near to the ground station. So such information will be there. Apart from that, see, ground stations will be used for sending and receiving the packets, so that we will see in the coming slide. So when we use ground station for sending or receiving the packets, which means it is acting as router, okay, at some point of time. So when it receive a packet, it can identify through which all people it has come, what is the path of that packet, such things it can identify. So this ground station can come up with more aggregate informations which will help for a better transmission of packets. Okay, so that's why this ground station will send periodic updates to its neighboring UAVs, so that they can update their neighbor table. So this neighbor table, apart from this neighbor table, another version of this neighbor table is called destination table is there, which means it will store information regarding which are the means which nodes can be reachable. Okay, that's what is destination node. Is there a path from one node I to another node J? They are not immediate neighbors, but I can understand the node I can understand that there is a path to another node J through some node P or W, etc. Okay, so this kinds of information it can node I can derive from the updates sent by the ground station. Now you can see time to intercept calculation. So time to intercept calculation will do, it will be done by each node based on the round trip time. So it will do it like that. Then next hop information. So that's what we told for the communication scenario. Now coming to the Aero NP. So before coming to network protocol, we can see the TP. So with the traditional TCP IP model, same job is done here. So it should do the error control. So for error control, we will use APC. Then if there is packet loss, then it has to be handled. Flow control has to be maintained. Connection establishment has to be done for reliable connection. So all those things will be done by the Aero TP protocol. Okay. Next is Aero NP. So Aero NP will do congestion control, header update, location trajectory, which means here the communication will happen with the help of GPS coordinates. So location of the UAV devices are important to identify the neighboring nodes, whether they are still present nearby or not. Okay, so based on the movement of the neighboring nodes, we can each node can derive a trajectory for its neighboring nodes to identify which way it is going. Okay, so such informations can be used for networking the packets. Then packets has to be forwarded. It will be done based on some scheduling constraints. So it uses data type and priority based scheduling. So that we will discuss in the coming slide what it does in there. Then coming to the Aero gateways, so it has to do the address translation, and it has to send the packets to the appropriate corresponding network type. Okay, so this is the functional block diagram of our network protocol Aero TP. So coming to the first protocol Aero TP. So as we discussed, it is a TCP friendly transport protocol, which means whatever is the functionalities of our TCP protocol in the TCP IP stack, such kind of things has to be done by our Aero TP. Okay. So So here we will discuss the types of modes of communication. All those things we will see, and with with the diagrams for connection setup and things. Apart from that, we will also see the segment structure of the Aero TCP. So all those things will be discussed in here. Okay. So if we say this Aero TP, so it transport TCP as well as the UDP packets. Okay, even though we say it should be flexible with TCP, so we know TCP is a connection oriented protocol, whereas UDP is the connectionless protocol. So we don't have separate protocols in here. Instead, both these functionalities will be handled by the Aero TP protocol itself. Okay, Aero T protocol itself will handle both situations. So based on what type of means based on the application or the environment where you are going to deploy the UAV, we will decide whether we should go with the TCP, or means AeroTP should act as a TCP or it should act as a UDP. So we should understand this based on the disruption tolerance or dynamic resource sharing, quality of service required for the application, then bidirectional communication. So based on the environment, we will identify what kind of scenario, what type of connection we require, whether we need a complete connection or whether need the connection with some reliability, or whether we can send packets without much overhead on connection establishment. All those things will be decided. So this performs the end-to-end data transfer between the edges of the airborne network, and that terminates at native onboard aeronautical devices, or it will terminate at the aero gateways. Okay, so sometimes the connection will happen only between the airborne devices, or sometimes it will terminate at the TCP UDP flows. So in that case, this Aero TP stop is to reach the is to deliver the packet till the Aero gateways. Okay, so that is the thing. So first we will discuss the connection oriented connection management and transmission control. So here you can see a figure. So here it shows the communication. Okay. So for this connection, we see you can see some signals. Okay, so each of the signals is given some name. So you may be knowing about the traditional SYN and ACK. ACK stands for the acknowledgement, and SYN stands for the synchronization. Whereas you can see some other signals which is written as SYN, that is the Aero SYN, which means the synchronization signals happening within the airborne network. Similarly, for ACK, that is the synchronization happens within the airborne. Acknowledgement signals is sent within the airborne network. So here you can see the communication happens from PER. PER is just one peripheral device. Okay, that short form is PER, just an on-board peripheral device in the standard TCP session. Okay, so it is trying to send a packet. It has to send some data to some other network. So from here, the data has to travel and reach at the destination. So when you do that, when you send this packet, we have to make use of some airborne network for this transmission, because maybe because of some natural calamity, or some because of some reason we don't have the traditional communication between source to destination. In between, we have to make use of the airborne network. Okay, so from the traditional peripheral device, it is been sent to it has to go through the airborne network. So now it reaches the gateway of the airborne network. So this device sends a sync packet to the gateway, and it is waiting for the acknowledgement. So it sends the acknowledgement. So here this gateway will work just like the gateway of our traditional network. Now this based on the sync acknowledgement, this PER is sending the ACK, and afterwards it is sending the data packets. Okay. So once the gateway starts receiving the data from the peripheral device, it will send a SYN synchronization request to the gateway of the airborne network itself. So this SYN is reached by the gateway, which means it is traveling through different devices in between. So it is reached by the gateway. So it will send back AACK. Now once here you can see, without means here it did not wait for an ACK to receive. So before receiving the ACK, means along with the ASYN, it starts sending the packets. Okay. So with the assumption that there will not be any problem with this gateway, it will start accepting the data packets. So with that assumption, along with the synchronization request, it starts sending the data packets. Now if it receives the AACK, it will continue sending the data segment packets to the gateway. And here you can see with this gateway, once it starts receiving the data packets, it is sending the sync request to the internet, which means the traditional peripheral device in the internet. Then here again the TCP handshake is happening. So sync acknowledgement, then acknowledgement, and this gateway starts sending the data segment. Okay, so this way first handshake, this is the TCP handshake, this is also the TCP handshake, whereas in the Aero network it is not waiting for the TCP handshake. Along with the synchronization, it will start sending the data, and then based on the AACK received, it will decide whether to continue sending the data or not. Now, once the data is been transmitted, you can see FIN is been issued, which means finish of transmission. So once it is been received, this connection means in TCP, once you before data transmission, you have to establish the connection, and after data transmission, you have to terminate the connection. So for that, we are sending the FIN, then acknowledgement received from ACK and FIN. Then they are both terminating the connection. So when it receives FIN, this gateway will send AFIN in the Aero network to the gateway, and here after sending the data packets, this GW will send the FIN. So this gateway FIN, here you can see that it is not waiting for the complete data segment, complete data to be transmitted. Before successfully delivering all the data packets, it has to send the AACK. So this is a problem that we will face with our any airborne networks, that it is not waiting for the packets to be received at the destination. Usually if you see the TCP IP protocol, in that case we will get the ACK or means FIN only after the last setting up, means after successfully delivering the last packet. But here it is not like that. Once the packets is been given to the gateway, which is connected to the last heterogeneous network, it will send the ACK with the assumption that hereafter it will be able to deliver the packet successfully. So this peripheral device actually getting an ACK, but it does not say that it does not know that whether the packet sent by this peripheral device is being successfully received at this device or not. Okay. So that is a general thing in our TCP. Now we will discuss different modes, connection transfer modes in our TCP. Aero TP. So here you can see one is a reliable connection. So four types of transfer modes are there: reliable connection transfer mode, near reliable connection mode, quasi-reliable connection mode, and unreliable connection. So these are the four types of connection mode available in the. One more is there. unreliable datagram mode. Okay, so these are the 4 types of transport mode with the AeroTP. Now we can discuss the reliable connection transfer mode. Okay, so here you can see all the first thing is the same. So sync, ACK data segment, all this part are the same. But here you can see one thing. See, in the previous slide I told this device may not be knowing whether the packet is received by this device or not. Okay, so if you want to get that information, then this ACK is designed such a way that once this destination receives the entire data segment, it has to start issuing the ACK, and from this it will be the gateway will send the AACK, and from there the peripheral device will be updated. Okay, so here our peripheral device can know that it has successfully delivered the packet to the destination. Okay, so that is one that is our reliable connection mode demands. Okay. There is a variant of this hybrid ARQ can be also used along with the FEC. So here, if that is the case, then what it does is like, see, when there is an error in the packet, it will try to dictate it with the help of the CRC check. So if the CRC32, if CRC is successful, then it can identify that packet is successfully and correctly delivered. If it is not, then what it does is like it will try to come up, it will try to replace some bits, and that packet will be again handed over to the lower layers up to the data link layer, and in the data link layer again they will try to solve this means it will try to do the error correction. If it is successful, then it will take the packets, because sending and receiving packets through airborne networks every now and then for small errors and all, it is not advised. Okay, so second one is a reliable near reliable connection mode. So from the figure itself we can see here near reliable in data segment from PER to gateway. After the data segment, it is sending the ACK. So here again it is not getting the information that the data is been successfully delivered. So you are gateway to gateway only, and here to the gateway with our near reliable connection. So this is to just provide some reliability, which means we assume that the medium is reliable, and based on that the data will be transmitted. So here we cannot guarantee the delivery since the gateway immediately return the TCP ACK to the source. With the assumption that the AeroTP will reliably send the packet. Okay, so that is one problem in here. So if there is any problem, I mean, if packets is lost or such cases, what is assumption is like not the gateway nodes will keep the packets as long as it is not means it will delete the packets on successful delivery of the packets. So if there is any such problem happened, it will go for a selective negative acknowledgements and all. So based on the selective negative acknowledgement, packets can be retransmitted to the destination. Okay. Other than that, here if there is a gateway buffer overflow, then there is problem that packets will not be delivered. See, if so many packets are coming to the gateway, so if this gateway is receiving so many packets, this gateway is receiving so many packets, so before sending the entire packets to the destination, this may the packets has already transmitted, so it will also assume that since it transmitted the packets, it may be received by this device. So if the reply is not coming on time, then there is a problem that that those packets will be taken out, and there is no way of retransmitting such packets to the destination. Okay, so that's why we are saying it as a near reliable. And next is a quasi reliable connection. So you can see this is a quasi reliable connection. So quasi-reliable connection is with FEC. So it eliminates ACK and ARQ entirely using open loop error recovery mechanism. So for that it uses the FEC. So the strength of the coding, you can tune it using the cross-layer optimization based on the quality of the wireless channel which is being used, quality and the available bandwidth of the channel. So means no packet retransmission. We will try to do the error correction. Okay, that is quasi-reliable mode. And next one is unreliable connection. So unreliable connection mode relies exclusively on the link layer. So FEC or ARQ to preserve data integrity and does not use any error correction mechanism at the transport layer. So here in the transport layer nothing will happen. It expects that the data link layer will do that job. And so cross layering may be used to vary the length of the link layer FEC. And last one is the unreliable datagram mode. So this is intended to transparently pass UDP traffic and no AROTP connection state is established. Okay, so this unreliable datagram stands for our UDP mode. Now this one is our segment structure. So you can see the source port, destination port, sequence number, timestamp, then mode, HEC. So all these things are there. The sequence number, this allows rendering of packets even though if they reach out of order, as the packets are traversing through multiple paths, it may reach out of order. So to handle such situations, we are using the TCP. So sequence port, so destination and source port, that timestamping to know when it is been transmitted. Then the mode stands for the mode of transmission, which means whether it is reliable, unreliable, near reliable, or the datagram based transmission. So such things are there. Then for error correction, you are having the HEC, CRC. So all those things. Here the TCP byte sequence number can be used, or the segment number can be used. So the payload CRC protects the integrity of the data edge to edge across the airborne network in the absence of separate aero NP or link layer frame CRC. So as we discussed, like sometimes the error correction is not done at the TCP. Instead, it will be done at the link layer or at the network layer. So if it need to be done in the TCP itself, then we have to use the payload CRC for that. Okay, so these are the things with our Aero TP. Now moving to the next topic, which is our Aero NP. Okay, so this should be IP compatible network protocol. So this the where we are making use of that we saw in the first diagram, it is Aero GW at the Aero gateways. So Aero gateways converts IP packets to Aero NP packets and vice versa. Key features of this NP are to provide explicit support for cross-layering messages, reduce overhead by providing an efficient address mapping from the IP, and provide a strong header check to decode corrupted payloads that could be recovered using AeroTP error correction mechanisms. So this AeroNP packet header format is shown in this figure that you can see. Okay, so these packets are 32 bits wide. So the version in the Aero NP protocol, it stands for the version number of the Aero TP. Then CI, it's a congestion indicator. So this is set by a node to notify that the neighboring node is currently congested or not. Okay, so if when a node receives a packet where the CI bit is set, it means that the immediate node which is sent that packet, it is congested, or it indicates that that particular path is congested. So we for future communication, so for immediate future communications, we should not use that particular path or particular node for transmission or reception. Okay, the type and priority field specify the quality of service level of the given packet. Okay, So the type and priority. So type decides what is the type of the data which is been sent. Type in the sense like whether we are sending some emergency, sending the data corresponding to some emergency services, or it is part of some routine services, like that. Okay, if it is emergency services, then it will be having high priority compared to the routine services or the normal services. So based on the application, some priority and the type of the data will be set. So next, what is layer? Source A and location is there. So destination arrow node location is there. These are optional. So whether we want to include the source and destination. So if this is not there, then computing is less, because if we go for IP based source and destination address, then it can be 32-bit or 128 based on IPv4 or v6. So if that is there, then the computation increases. So if it is optional, if you can come up with some other mechanism to identify, means like for initial packets maybe you need this, but later on those packets you can send without the source and destination address. It is optional for you. And then next, what are the things is like here destination MAC is there, so we can go for destination MAC address, device ID, all those things which will help the Aero gateways to identify the peripheral IP addresses. So while dynamic mapping procedures are possible, it is more efficient to preload the translation table at the beginning of each transmission. So we can, once you do the translation table, then no need of use sending it with the addresses, IP addresses again and again for the further communications. And one more thing is that when we send this packets, we have to include the GPS coordinates and velocity vector that are used in local location aware routing. So why we are including both, means apart from GPS, we will include the velocity vector also. So this helps in identifying the trajectory of the airborne device which is nearby. For example, a node X, if it is at position X1, Y1, so if it is moving and if you know the velocity, you can identify at the next time instant what will be the position of that particular node. So that's why we are making use of the GPS and the velocity vector. So that is used for location aware routing. So if you want to avoid this, means if the device is not the velocity of the device is very low, then you can exclude this, which will save some computation. But if it is a dynamically moving UAV, which means the velocity is varying and it is changing drastically, then in such cases we have to go with the location aware routing itself. We cannot avoid that. Okay. So these are the things with our Aero NP. Now coming to the next protocol, Aero RP, that is location aware routing. Okay, so Aero RP routing protocol is specifically designed to address the issue related to highly mobile aeronautical environments. So here some design aspects are there: proactive behavior, then cross-layer controls, pre-hop behavior, and multi-modal behavior. So usually it works with the proactive routing protocol, but it is limited. It has limited updates, thereby lowering the protocol overhead. Now it exploits the cross-layer controls. It is designed to exploit the cross-layer controls provided by Aero NP and the geographic node location and trajectory information available at the nodes. So that way it will exploit cross-layer controls. Aero RP forwards data pre-hop based on partial local information and routes, so that it avoids the necessity for global convergence. So it is suitable for highly dynamic environments. Okay, so that's why we are going for per hop behavior. Then multi-modal behavior is like, in order to support this dynamics in operation policies and constraints, we have to go for the multi-mode of operation. For example, based on the security requirements of the application, we can decide whether the geolocation of the nodes should be included with the packets or not, whether some nodes trajectory has to be means is it for a special purpose. If it is for a special purpose, for example military cases, some UAV position should not be shared with others. Its movement should not be detected by others. Okay, so in such cases we can decide whether that information should be included or not. If such information is not there, then also our Aero RP should be able to transmit the packet to the destination. Okay, so there are two phases of operation. One is neighbor discovery and other one is data forwarding. So first one is neighbor discovery. So it has to identify the neighbors, then only it can send the packets to the next hop. Okay, so for this we use different mechanisms. Those are written there: active snooping, hello beacons, ground station updates. So active snooping is the primary mechanism which is used by the node to locate and identify its neighbors. So in the wireless network, a node that is node transmitting listens to all transmissions on the wireless channels. Even if a node is not transmitting, it will still listen any communication happening. So Aero RP, what it does is it adds the transmitting MAC address of each overhead packet to its neighbor table. So that we discussed in the function block. So whenever it sees a packet, it will update its neighboring table. This protocol assumes cooperative modes and symmetric transmission. As I told, there is one more table, that is destination table. So apart from the neighboring table, destination table will also be updated. The only difference between neighbor and destination is that neighbor will consist of UAVs which are immediate next to the current node, whereas the destination table consists of neighbors as well as those nodes which are reachable from the current node. Okay, so these are the two types of tables which will be updated based on the traffic which is available in the wireless network. So we say that one node is neighboring, so that we discussed yesterday. So it is like if one node can hear the transmission of the another node, then we can say that it can communicate with each other. Okay, so that is active snooping. Then hello beacons, that also we discussed. It is used by idle nodes to advertise their presence. For example, if one node it is there but it was not participating in any communication. So after some time period, when the neighbors what they do is like they will periodically update their neighboring table. So when the time expires, so it will remove those packets from the neighboring table. It will remove the address of those things from the neighboring table, because it did not receive. See, for example, if there was one node I, there is another node J, there is another node K, so some nodes were there. So this particular node was receiving some packets. So each of these are UAV. So this particular node was receiving some packets. So it is receiving packets from K, but it is not receiving any packets from J for some particular point of time. So I will assume that J has moved away, or J is not working, or something happened to J. So what I will do is I will remove J from its neighboring table. Okay, so that way it will update the neighboring table. So now I after some time I may get removed from all of its neighbors. Sorry, J may get removed from all of its neighbors. So when after some time, when J wanted to send packets, or it wanted to take part in any communication, so if that is the case, then J can send hello messages. It will broadcast the messages to all its neighboring nodes. So this I will receive the packet, K will also receive the packets from J. So at that time, then I and J can again update their neighboring tables, and J can come back to play. Okay, so this way the communication takes place. That's the use of our hello beacons. So these nodes can go sometimes due to power failure. Also, some UAV can may work in the standalone mode. It will not take part in any communication. So next one is ground station updates. So ground station updates, it will be used to augment or replace active snooping in some scenarios in which the ground station has a partial or even complete flight plan. So the ground station sends periodic updates containing the location and the trajectory vectors predicted by the flight plan to all the nodes. So based on the inputs from the Earth, it can update. Each of the nodes can update their table. Okay, so next one is data forwarding. So here individual nodes have to determine the next hop for a particular transmission. So this is what we are discussing from all the slides. Then Aero RP performs hop by hop forwarding based on partial path without full knowledge of the end-to-end paths. Means if a node wants to send the packet, it will not compute the path from source to destination. Instead, it will just send that packet to its immediate neighbors with the assumption that some way it will reach the destination. Okay, so that's what it is happening in Aero networks. So each node forwards a packet such that it will end up geographically closer to the destination. So mostly it will be a GS, grounds, the gateway station. Okay, so the packets, it will go to the immediate neighbors and it will reach the gateway station. Thereafter it will be taken care by the gateway station so that it will reach the destination. So when a node needs to transmit the data and assuming that one or more neighbors are discovered, so packets are forwarded to the node that is nearest to the destination as calculated from its current coordinates and trajectory. So if a packet can be sent through multiple places, here also we will try to perform the shortest path, shortest path packet delivery so that it can reach the destination in less time. So this will be calculated based on the GPS coordinates and the trajectory of the neighbors. Okay, so next thing is the quality of service. So Aero NP protocol uses two fields in the header to specify the quality of service that we discussed earlier, the data type and the priority. So data type can be network control traffic, emergency response, airborne operations, general internet access, or civilian entertainment. So here it follows weighted fair queuing. So weighted fair queuing, it will be applied based on the data type and priority. So if it is emergency response and high priority, then it will be given more preference. Otherwise, we will just exclude some packets. In the coming slide, we can see that. So congestion control. So you can see here also data communication takes place. So many UAVs will be there in one wireless channel. So everybody is trying to send the packets, collision will happen. So for controlling that, there are two methods which is adopted in here. One is the congestion indicator and other one is back pressure. So congestion indicator, it is this field is to indicate its own congestion level. All packet transmission from a node carry the CI field along with the type and priority of the data. When the transmit queue of a node exceeds a predetermined threshold, it sets its CI field. So neighboring nodes who is receiving the packets or who eavesdrops the transmission are made aware of the condition of the given node, which means whenever the neighboring nodes see the CI field, it can understand that the immediate neighbor is facing some congestion. So if a node is congested, the neighbors will back off. Okay, which means it will not send the data packets to the neighbors for some particular point, fixed time interval, not send any packets. So the neighbors back off, but there is again one constraint. Okay, if the data they have to send, which means the neighboring nodes, if the data from the neighboring nodes is of high priority, then they will still use that path. Okay, so there are this node I, another node J, another node K. So if I is sending some packets, so this J and K will be sensing the channel and it will be always seeing what packets is run from I. So if that is the case, when I faces any congestion, it will send its CI field. It will set it. Then J and K knows that CI is now under congestion. But this I has to send some data. If the data packets currently sent by I, each of the packet have a type and priority that we discussed earlier. Okay, so the priority of packet sent by this I, if that priority is less than the data which need to be sent from J, then J will still use I for sending the packet. So and I is forced to send that packet because the priority of the data received from I is higher, received from J is higher. So I is forced to send that data. Okay, so that's what congestion indicator. And back pressure, coming to back pressure. So here the source sends packet, usually source and destination, there will be intermediate nodes are there. So it same concept there, the neighbors eavesdrop the packets. Okay, so when they eavesdrop the packet, see, it's like if we can explain with the same nodes. So I is a node which is being congested. Okay, so J is currently using I and K is also using I for sending the packets. So J and I are currently using I for sending the packets. Now after some time, J is seeing that whatever packet sent by J to I, it is not transmitted by I. But at the same time, J can also sense that whatever packet sent from K to I is still transmitted. Okay, so see, this is a wireless, all of them are in the same wireless field, so they are sensing whatever is there in this channel. So J can identify that whatever packet sent by I, it is been transmitted by I or not. And is I transmitting any other packets other than those transmitted from J? So once J feels that I is excluding the packets received from J but is still transmitting from K, it means that K is sending some packets which is of high priority than what is being sent from J. Okay, so priority of the data sent by K is higher and I is sending only priority data, which means I is under congestion. So under congestion, a node has to send packet if the data in the packet is of high priority. So I can understand that this particular J can understand that I is under congestion. Without checking the CI bit itself, we can understand whether a node is under congestion or not. Okay, so if that is the case, then J will back off. It will wait for some time. So that is what back pressure. So based on the, it can identify that whatever is being sent to I, it is not able to send it. But because of the priority, I is pressurized to send the data. So J will back off, and hence the name back pressure. So these are the congestion control methods we use. So coming to the UAV network system, so just one figure you can see in here. So some variety of networks is given. One MANET network here. This is MANET 2. Mesh network is given. Picocell, which means some Bluetooth connection is happening here. So base stations you can see. So these are the base stations. UAVs are deployed. Varieties of UAVs are there. Some GIG is there, which where the center console is going on. So command and control is happening at the GIG. Whatever communications happening here is being monitored by the GIG. This way, the communication is going from one place to another. So one sample UAV network system is shown there. Now coming to the topic of security and privacy aspects, these are the security problems in our UAV systems. So UAV, here we discuss the security problems in safety and security problems in terms of various types of attacks. Okay, so cyber physical systems, physical attacks on UAV can vary widely as they can target different components within the UAV. So those are the things listed out in the slide: communication channel attacks, information attacks, denial of service attack, and GPS attacks. These are some examples. Apart from this, there are other variety of attacks are available which may affect some group of UAVs. So communication channel attack, if we discuss, attacks to the communication channel of a UAV system can take in many forms, such as disrupting the connection between the UAV and the GS, which means the communication between the UAV user equipment and the GS, which means the ground station that is being affected. Okay, so in this type of attack, the attacker can prevent the GS from communicating and controlling the UAV in order to steal the UAV. Okay, once this communication is lost, now UAV is, you can control UAV from your user end. Or we can also make the drone operator lose the UAV. So two aspects: either you can take control of the UAV and you can steal the UAV, or else we are simply we are simply disrupting the communication between UAV and ground station. Now there is no communication, so UAV may lose its path and it will go somewhere. Okay, so if the attacker wants to steal the UAV, it will first hijack the UAV GS connection, and then it will send its own control signal to the UAV in order to lead the UAV to a place where it can be captured. Okay, the another term is called flyaway attack or flyaway attack. Okay, which means we first disrupted the connection and then we are sending our own control signals so that we can control the UAV to the destination that we want. Okay, so that's what our communication channel attacks. Now second one is information attacks. We can also make use of the communication channel attacks for other purpose, like if some UAV is there, military related UAVs which is carrying some bomb or something. If you are playing with that, then you can decide where to take the UAV, where to put the bomb, what operations has to be performed. Such things can be done. Okay, so that is one serious scenario that we have to take care of. So yesterday in the chat I received such a question, so that's why I told it right now. Now, information attacks to the information of UAV can have a wider range of effects on the targeted UAVs. Eavesdropping on the transmitted information between the UAV and its communicating receiver is one of the most basic attacks that an attacker can launch to the UAV. So due to we cannot say that there is a strong encryption all the time. There is based on the power consumption and based on the computing capabilities of the UAVs, we will decide whether strong encryption has to be employed or not. So if that is the case, then eavesdropping the packets will be very easier. But the solution is we have to go for strong encryption. Several solutions exist, like we have to go with better cryptographic algorithms and all, but still it depends on what is the purpose, whether the UAVs can go to the computation of that much extent, or we can also go for lightweight cryptographic algorithms. Anyway, so many researches are still going on in that way regarding lightweight cryptography. Then next one is the denial of service attack. So you may be knowing what is DOS. So usually the attacker floods the network with a request in order to exhaust the network resources, and it will prevent the legitimate user from obtaining the device. So same thing happens here. UAV networks will be flooded. So those attacks can prevent the UAV from performing its mission. So particularly from scenarios in which UAV receive request from the user. So it cannot take the request from the legitimate user. Instead, it cannot do any computation. It is some attacker is spreading so many requests in the UAV channel. So that is one case. Then another version of this is also there, distributed DOS. So distributed DOS means from multiple devices the attacker is sending malicious packets to the UAV so that it is not able to process the user request. Then it may also lead to buffer overflow. So in the end, UAV is not able to do anything which it is intended to do. Next is GPS attack. So attacks targets the UAV's GPS receiver. Okay, so GPS jamming will be done against the UAV in which the attacker transmits high power signals to prevent the UAV from receiving the GPS signal. So it will means whenever it tries to identify its GPS location, it will detect its position based on the strongest GPS signal. Okay, so here the attacker is sending a GPS coordinates with where the signal strength is high. So the UAV will think that that is its location, so it will update its GPS accordingly. Now hereafter, whatever is the control signal given by the attacker or the ground station, if the ground station says like you go to this much position left or right, then the UAV will go move accordingly. Okay, but instead of moving to the intended destination, it is now moving around some other place, because it's the GPS location available with the UAV is not the actual location where it has to be. Okay, so that is the thing with GPS attacks. So these are some types of attacks, and apart from this, you can also trigger these attacks to a group of UAVs. So the entire network connectivity will be affected in such situations, and all the UAVs in that wireless channel will behave in abnormal. So these are the research challenges in the area. What is the minimum transmission range needed by the UAVs flying on a known or unknown trajectory, so that the network found by the UAVs will always remain connected? So we don't know, because or every now and then UAVs are moving here and there. Then for some UAVs we know what is their path. For some UAVs we don't know what is the path. For some UAVs we can predict that, but whereas in some case we are not able to predict that path also. Okay, so that is the thing with research challenges. Then the another thing is like, so uh, so another research challenge is minimize. Sorry for the some connectivity issue happened. Okay, so the last two points were minimize transmission when UAV operate in disconnected mode, and what is the fewest number of UAV that will be needed to monitor mobile targets. For example, yesterday we discussed like there is a pursuing node. We have to capture some targets, and it will be moving, and all other nodes will be going after the particular node which has to be pursued. So if so many such mobile targets are there, how many UAVs have to be deployed so that you can capture the devices, capture the target nodes? So capturing such things, we cannot have a predefined value till now. So these are the research challenges which is still going on. Because the UAV at sometimes they will send packets without their coordinates. At sometimes they will send packets with their coordinates, and we also saw that the GPS locations can be false, can be fake. Instead of the actual location, some fake locations can be given. So all these things affect the performance of the UAV machines. Okay, sorry, UAV user equipments. So these are the research, and whatever is the security problems that we discussed in this previous slide, so this will affect the UAVs. So these are the references. You can go through these textbooks. UAV Network and Communications by Kamesh, Cambridge University, 2018. Wahid Saad also written one book. So these are the two books which is discussing lots of scenario in this, and you can also go through theory, design, and applications. So this is it. So if you are having any doubts or something, you can we can discuss. So is there any doubts?
Students, you can ask your doubts by the chats. Okay, if later you have any doubt, you can post to us. We will contact with ma'am. Okay, thank you very much, all
Oh.
of you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay.